Okay, welcome. So, today we will summarize what we know about some equations and their graphs. And the goal for today's lessons is to find an equation when you see the graph. So, I will show you, and you will write down this as well so you will remember it. The first function is the linear function. And when you see linear function, you will know how to write down the equation for it in the general form. It looks like this. Y is equal to kx plus m, like this. And you know how to draw the graph as well. You need an y-axis and you need the x-axis, like this. And linear, it's a straight line. For instance, something like this. And you know that the m value is where it intersects the y-axis, and the k has something to do with the gradient, how steep it is. Could go down as well and have a negative gradient, like this. Okay, that's the first one. You should also know something about second degree function. The second degree function, well, in general form you write it like this. Y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. So there is 3 constant that determines the equation and how the graph looks like. And the graph, you could draw it like this. So x and y. For instance, something like this, a typical second degree graph. This graph has a maximum value, but it could also have a minimum value. It depends on the value on A. You already know that. If it has a positive or a negative value. If it has a positive value on A, it has a minimum point. If it has a negative, it has a maximum point. Okay, let's continue. The exponential function. As an equation, you write it like this. C times a to the power of x. So we have 2 constants. For the second degrees equation, we have 3 of them. For a linear function, we have 2 constants. Now, if you draw the graph, y is equal to, y-axis and x and the x-axis. So there is 2 ways to draw an exponential function or the graph for it. You could draw it like this, and it happens when a is greater than 1. If a is greater than 1, it means that the factor of change is greater than 1, and the value is increasing all the time. For any step you go to right, you will have a greater value on y. But you can also draw the graph like this. It gets closer and closer to the x-axis, but it never reaches it. Here as well, it gets closer and closer to the x-axis, but never comes down. It can't be 0. Y can't be 0. In this case, well, this happens when a is greater than 0 and smaller than 1. If a is 1, we will have a horizontal line, a straight line. So these two cases. I could have drawn two graphs here as well with a minimum value, but I don't. You know that already. Okay, let's look on the last one, the power function. A power function, potensfunktion in Swedish, it's when you have the x value in the base and a constant in the exponent. You see, they look quite similar. But here you have x in the base and in an exponential function, x in the exponent. Okay, if you draw the graph, could look in some different ways. We will most of all consider this graph. So this happens when a, the exponent, the constant for it, is greater than 0 but smaller than 1. So, for instance, if a is a half, 0.5, then a is greater than 0 and smaller than 1. Then you have the exponent a half. And you know that that is the same as taking the square root of x. Then it looks like this. So for every greater value on x you choose, it's going upwards. The y value is increasing, but not that fast. It's going like this. If a is greater than 1, it looks like this. A is greater than 1. So, for instance, if a is equal to, if a is 2, then you have x to the power of 2. It's like a second degrees function with b and c 0. Then on the other side it looks like this. So you have the second degrees curve as you remember it. If a is 3, then it goes down like this. If a is 4, then it goes up again. But we don't look that much on this side. The higher value you have on a, and it's positive than 1, the faster it reaches infinity. Okay, let's look on how you find these equations. And when I say find the equation, you will find a constant, c and a, k and m, a, b, c, and c and a, with the help from a graph. So let's turn the page like this. Okay, so exercise. Determine their equation. Determine their equation. A. So we have a coordinate system with the y-axis and the x-axis like this. And then we have a scale. We need it now, 1 and 1. And I will do a mark there, and I will do something 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So I will draw this line like this. Now, can you solve the problem? You do it. So you take a pause now, press stop on the video, and then you will continue and see if you have got the same answer than me. Then you can start and look at it. So, first of all, you have to see that this is a straight line, a linear function. So, immediately you realize that the equation is written in this form and you have to find k and m. And you have 2 points like this, 2 coordinates. It's not necessarily that you see them, you have to find them yourself. and you will do that. So this coordinate, it has the x value -2 and the y value 4. So in this way I will exchange the y value to 4, and then I have k, and then I have -2, and then I have m. And this point, it's 4, 0. So the y value is 0, so I change the y value to 0. K, that's what I'm supposed to find. The x value is 4, and then you have m. So you see we have a system of equations. So this is a way to find our values for k and m. You could also, you remember it, do like this and find delta y and delta x and find the k value in this way. I show you this way now with system of equations. So we have equation 1 and equation 2. And now you see it's the same m value. So if I take equation 2 minus equation 1, then the m value will disappear. So let's do that. 2 minus 1. 0 minus 4, that is -4, is equal to. Now, k times 4, that is the same as 4k. 4k minus 2k. 4 minus minus is plus, so that is 4k plus 2k, that is 6k. And m minus m cancel each other out. So k is equal to -4 divided by 6, or -2 divided by 3 in its most simple form. Okay, now I have to find the m value. So insert in, and then I choose the most easiest one. I don't know if anyone is more easy, but I choose the second equation here. Insert in 2. So we have 0 is equal to k. Now k is -2 divided by 3 times 4 plus m. So we see that m is 8 divided by 3 with a positive sign. So it will become 0. So 8 divided by 3. Okay, answer. Oops, answer. Y is equal to -2 over 3 x plus 8 divided by 3. So you have a line and you find the equation, and you should be able to go the other way around. So if you have an equation, you should be able to write it down like this. You can check the result with your calculator, see if it's true. Okay, let's move on. Determine the equation for the graph that I will draw for you now. So a y-axis and an x-axis. I have the scale 1, and then I will do like this. So this is 3, and therefore this has to be 6, because if the change between two squares is 3, then it's 3 here as well, so it has to be 6. And 2, well, I would like to draw it so it passes that point here, so that's a better line. Okay, but it doesn't matter, it's a little bit more easier to solve the equation if you have it like this. So you will find the equation for this line. Do you see what kind of function it is? That You call this typical line? Well, actually, we can't be sure of it. It could be a second degrees equation, a second degrees function, because a second degrees function goes down and down and down, reaches the minimum value, and then goes up again. Could be in that case, but this is a second degree, this is an exponential function. So we write it down like this: c times a to the power of x. You have to find c and a. Okay, so we have two coordinates, that one and that one. The first one is 0 and 3. The x value is 0. That gives us the information that the y value is 3, and then you have c times a to the power of 0. And that coordinate is 2 and 6. So 2 and 6. So 6 is equal to c times a to the power of 2. So once again, we have a system of equation like this. Equation 1 and equation 2. And now it's quite easy to first find c from this equation, because a to the power of 0 is 1, and then 3 becomes c. So we know now that c, the intersection with the y-axis, is 3. But I will show you a more general way to solve, to find the values for c and a. It always works, because sometimes you don't have these coordinates. You may have two other coordinates. And in this case, we will take the second equation and divide it with the first equation. And I will show you what's happening. So that is 6 divided by 3 is equal to c times a squared divided by c times a 0. If I do that, I got 6 divided by 3, that is 2. And now you see c divided by c cancel each other out. It always works like this if you do it in this case. And then you have a to the power of 2. Because this, I will show you, a to the power of 2 divided by a to the power of 0. If you have the same base, you should subtract the exponents. It's the law of exponents. But 2 minus 0, that is 2. So we only have a to the power of 2. Now we can find out what a is. So we take the square root on both sides. So a will become the square root of 2, or almost 1.41, and then it continues. Okay, now we have to find c. So insert in equation 2. Now I have to insert my a value in equation 2. In equation 1, doesn't matter what value I choose for a, it will always be a to the power of 0, that is 1. So it don't gives me any more information. So insert in 2. 6 is equal to c times a. But a is the square root of 2 to the power of 2. And you remember that the square root of 2, and you multiply it by itself, then it becomes 2. So this is 2. And therefore c is equal to 3. So the answer, right this way, is y is equal to c, that is 3 times, and then you can choose to write square root of 2 to the power of x, or if you want to, 3 times 1.41 to the power of x. Okay, someone's on the door. That's okay. So, doesn't matter how you answer it. I normally tells you that this is a better way to answer, because this is a rounded off number. The continues forever. But anyway, in this case, you can see that the change for every value of x is 0.41 or 41%. You don't see that here, but this is the exact answer. The value of c and the value of a. We have found the solution. Okay, just one last one. That's the exercise C. Okay, so let's draw the coordinate system y and x like this. And I will have some coordinates. I mark them first, so I will draw it quite good like this. Oh, whoops. So it looks like this. Okay, and the exercise is to find the equation that describes by this graph. First of all, when you see it, you realize, well, this is a second degree equation. So I have to find three constants, a, b, and c, like this. And you see, if you have three constants to find, you need three coordinates, because it will be a system of equation with three unknowns. Then you need three coordinates. So this one, it's -2 and 0. This one is 0, -2, and this one is 3, 0, because the scale is 1, like this. So -2 and 0. That information gives us that the y value is 0. The a value, that's what you are supposed to find. You will find a, b, and c now. We don't know a, but x for this coordinate is -2. You square it, and then you have b, and then you have -2, and then we have c. And then we have this point, it's 0, -2, so the y value now is -2. And that is equal to a times 0 squared plus b times 0 plus c. And now you see that this gives us information immediately, because this is 0, so this term becomes 0, and this is 0, so this terms become 0. So c is equal to -2. This is true if and only if c is equal to -2. And the last coordinate, 3, 0. So the y is 0, a times 3 squared plus b times 3 plus, okay, I write it as c now. We know it's -2. So we see that we have three equations, and then we can find the values for a, b, and c. And now we know that c is -2. Now let's call this equation for equation 1 and this equation for equation 3. So I write them down. Equation 1 is 0, and then I do calculate this. So -2 to the power of 2, that is 4, so it's 4a minus 2b, since I multiply them, and then I have -2b minus c, because c was -2. And equation 3 is 0 equals 2. 3 times 3, that is 9, and it's a. And then I have plus 3b. So you see, you normally start with a number, and then you have the variable like this. Then we have -2. So I use my eraser. I beg your pardon, you have to erase as well. So we have -2. So now you see we have only 2 equations left, but we also only have 2 unknowns because C is already done here. Okay, can you continue to solve this equation? You can try to do that. You take a pause from the video and then you turn it on again and see if we will get the same answer. Okay, so I will use the addition method to find my values for A and B. And here, if I have to first eliminate A, then I have to multiply with 9 and 4. That's too high number for me. I want to eliminate B. So I take the equation 1 and I multiply it with 3. And then I will add it with equation 2 after I have multiplied it with 2. So this is what I will do. But first we will calculate 3 times equation 1. Equation 1, I multiply every single term with 3. Then I will get 0 equals to 12a minus 6b minus 6. And then I will take equation 3 and multiply it with 2. I get 0 is equal to 18a plus 6b minus 4. And then I will add them together. And you see, why did I choose 2 and 3? Well, that is so I will have the same number for how many b I have, but with opposite signs. So I add them together, so 0 plus 0, that is still 0. So I normally do like this, so I see now I add them together like this. 18a plus 12a, that's 13a. This is 0. That has to be 0, otherwise I have done some mistakes or have to multiply with some other numbers here. And then you have negative 10, minus 4 plus minus 6, or negative 4 plus negative 6. Well, that's very negative, negative 10. So 10 is equal to 30a, so a is 10 over 30, or 1 over 3. So I have found out A and C. Now I have to find B. So insert in. Well, let's use equation 3. It's quite easy, but it shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter which one you choose. Insert in 3. So equation 3 says that 0 is equal to 9 times 1 over 3, because A was 1 over 3, plus 3b minus 2. Okay, so 0 is equal to 3 plus 3b minus 2. This is 1, negative 1 divided with 3. So b is negative 1 divided by 3. So we have found all our constants. So answer. Y is equal to A, 1 over 3 x squared, plus B, no, sorry, have to use the eraser again. Good, it's there. And minus 1 over 3x. And then minus 2. Value for C, value for B, and value for A. The x value is a variable, so you have every single x here. And then y depends on the x value. And then it looks like this. You can control it on your calculator if you want to. Okay, thank you for today.